Hello everybody, I'm some Loudmouth on the internet with an opinion, and welcome to part 4 of my video series reviewing the episodes of Gargoyles The Goliath Chronicles, and today I will be reviewing A Bronx Tale. A Bronx Tale, directed by Robert De Niro, is a 1993 crime thriller often called one of the best of its time. It's so beloved a stage show was made. Ha 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 ha! No. Instead I will be reviewing a different A Bronx Tale, a far lamer A Bronx Tale, that Gargoyles The Goliath Chronicles gave us. Let's dig in. We start the episode with Lexington and Bronx the Gargoyle Beast harassing a couple of security guards who are really only trying to do their fucking job. Why are they hanging out at the railroad tracks? Well, I'm sure it'll be a very deep and well thought out reason. Trust me. While fleeing the law, Bronx ends up on a railroad cart on a train that's speeding away. Bronx the Gargoyle Beast was always more of a minor character on the show, both due to his inability to glide as well as his inability to speak. Basically, he was a more primitive version of a gargoyle that the more main type of gargoyle seemed to domesticate like a dog. But hey, us pet owners loved him. Isn't that right? Do you like Bronx? Do you? Lexington rides on top of the train, ordering Bronx to stay.
Stay, Bronx! Stay!
Why the hell do you want him to stay? It would be 1,000,000 times easier to recover him if he just jumped off the fucking train. Lexington sees the sun coming up, which should be a very good sign to, find a safe place to stay and turn to stone. But because Lexington is a complete and total moron, and once again seems to forget about the fact that he turns to stone during the day, how the hell does he keep forgetting such a very important aspect of his own biology? He decides to land on top of the moving train, where he turns to stone, which should have been the end of him, but instead he flies off the train and hits the ice while remaining in one piece. Bullshit! Sleeping gargoyles have been shown to be very, very shatterable. If someone swinging a sledgehammer can easily kill one, there is no way in hell he would remain in one piece, flying off a moving train and hitting the ice. We then check back with Elisa, who's worried about her friends.
Worry. Lexington knows to find a safe place if they can't make it back by dawn.
And where would that safe place be? Anti-gargoyle hysteria keeps getting worse.
Oh no! Somebody threw a Coke can at some graffiti. Ooh!
Even the strongest gargoyles are easy targets during the day.
No shit, Sherlock.
I'll use my resources to search for them, Detective. But we have to keep a low profile.
Of course. Meanwhile, I'll check with every precinct in the city. If anyone finds them, let's hope it's a friend.
Also, this is an issue with this entire season. Why is Elisa and the gargoyles so trusting of Xanatos after all the times Xanatos betrayed them in the first 2 seasons? Yes, Season 2 ends with the Gargoyles and Xanatos forming a truce. But this truce was never meant to signify Xanatos completely becoming a good guy or giving up all his evil schemes. He was still meant to be a completely unethical Machiavellian schemer going into Season 3 by Wiseman's original vision. This is reflected in the comics. We then are introduced to a new character, Matthew, an Amish boy who is tempted by the outside world, despite his strict religious upbringing.
Matthew, what is this?
Oh, it's nothing.
More rat.
But Father, they're just stories.
What am I to do with you, Matthew? The outside world draws you like a moth to a flame.
Oh, awesome. A potentially really great character arc. This episode will never be fucked to finish. While Bronx was sleeping, the train he was on traveled all the way to Pennsylvania, and he awakens in this new environment. We then cut back to Matthew, who doesn't like spending most of his life living in an Amish paradise. You knew that joke was going to be in here somewhere.
Just a book. We are to see nothing, to try nothing, to hear nothing. There must be more to life.
So basically, he's a young Amish boy version of Belle.
And for once it might be grand to have someone understand. I want so much more than they've got planned.
The similarities actually don't end there, as when Matthew is walking through the woods, he gets attacked by, you guessed it, a pack of hungry wolves. That is, until another scene reminiscent of Beauty and the Beast. Bronx comes in and saves him from the pack of wolves, and this begins their friendship.
Hey, I've got something you'd like. My mother baked it. Ah! Oh, you must be hungry. You're hurt. Oh, you better come home with me. I'll get you all kinds of food to eat.
Your classic boy and his dog, Gargoyle Beast thing. It's a classic formula. Meanwhile, back at the castle, the rest of the clan is concerned about their missing friends, and we finally find out the shocking reveal of why they were at the train tracks in the first place.
Thank goodness.
I'm sorry, but well, you know how Bronx loves trains. I just never thought that we'd get in trouble just watching them.
Really? That's the entire reason why they were there. Because Bronx loves trains. And he thought that he could watch the trains go by all night and never be spotted. That's the best thing they could think of when they wrote this episode. Lazy, lazy, lazy. Matthew lets Bronx stay in his barn, only to find out the next day what happens to gargoyles at sunrise.
Wake up, boy! I've got... What did I do wrong? Look, I brought milk and bread, sausages.
This is kind of a cute scene. It's been a while on this show since we've seen a human totally unfamiliar with the concept of stone sleep, encountering it for the first time, and being rightfully extremely baffled by it. Apparently, Bronx loves sausages, but not enough to awaken him from his stone sleep. That is, until two random dudes show up to the barn who, for some reason, are looking for gargoyles.
Got monsters on the loose. Mean ones. From Manhattan. We're checking every barn in the area.
There are no monsters here.
Hey, Pops. We're here to help.
Your help is not needed. We have seen your help before. Now go!
Or what? Your kind doesn't believe in violence.
More of this shit again? Yeah, I know. Mankind fears what it doesn't understand, blah, blah, blah. But really, would the existence of gargoyles really lead to everyone becoming a bunch of one-dimensional, genocidal lunatics like this? Come on. They even go as far as to push a man down on his land until the other reminds them they don't want the cops after him.
Come on, man. We don't need the cops coming down on us again.
Hands off! I'll see you later.
Wouldn't you already have the cops on you, seeing as you just assaulted a man on his land for absolutely no reason whatsoever, and thus you might as well at this point just search the barn? But of course, Bronx eventually awakens at sunset, and Matthew decides that it's time to get Bronx home, so they go on an adventure to get him there.
If Manhattan's where you're from, then Manhattan's where we're gonna go.
Sure, kid, you'll totally be able to walk to Manhattan. What kid hasn't walked hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles through treacherous snow with his pet before? What could possibly go wrong? So the two hooligans from earlier apparently were tracking Matthew the entire time. How the hell did they know Matthew and the gargoyle were traveling together and where they were going? Who the fuck knows? I guess being a bigoted redneck gives you psychic powers or something, or I don't know, maybe Puck did it, or who the fuck knows? They hop onto a truck, but the monster hunters from earlier continue to follow them. How the fuck did they know they were there? They were too far away to see them hopping on that truck. They saw a random truck drive by, and they just knew that was the one they were looking for? It's the Goliath Chronicles. The writing sucks. I'll just deal with it. They go as far as to almost run the truck off the icy road.
Hey! Pull over!
Get out of here! Local yahoos.
Hey, you hurt the kid! I'm calling the highway patrol.
Guts.
Wait, a Goliath Chronicles villain who isn't one-dimensionally evil but has his own standard of ethics? What show am I watching? Did I accidentally change the channel? Okay, the episode gets a couple points there. Bronx and Matthew decide to leave the truck and run onto the ice. But that really stupid decision turns out to be really stupid, because the ice breaks and Bronx is trapped underwater, and he can't seem to swim to the surface.
I can't reach you!
Even though it was shown that he could swim just fine in an earlier episode, but whatever. After a few minutes underwater, not sure how long gargoyles can hold their breath, but that seems to be pushing it, Goliath dives down from Xanatos' helicopter and saves Bronx, which results in a bunch of trigger-happy cops opening fire on them, but thankfully are completely unable to hit anything with a hail of bullets.
Harry! You're alive! And you're a horrible shot.
This gets Goliath so raging mad that one of his eyes begins to float 6 inches in front of his face. Yeah, that happens to me all the time. Ah! And he runs straight into the guy shooting at him, but of course isn't effective. I guess he cast a magic spell or something, I don't know. And no, gargoyles are not bulletproof. That has been mentioned several times before. This is just crappy animation. So Goliath rescues Bronx and takes him home in the helicopter, and the rest of the gargoyles are happy to be reunited with their pet.
I'm sorry, Bronx. I won't ever lose you again.
Let me wink at the audience to show I'll totally lose you again. You're a terrible pet owner, Lexington. So Matthew gets a TV interview where he espouses the episode's moral.
But once I got to know him, I knew he was good inside. And that's what counts, isn't it?
And we never, ever, ever see him again. And the episode ends. And that was Gargoyles The Goliath Chronicles, A Bronx Tale. And it's just another lazy filler episode. One that could have been good, but it's just a rushed mess as it is. Very similar to Runaways before, this episode is just kinda dull. The message of the episode is spelled out in such a preachy fashion instead of simply being allowed to flow from the story. The bad animation is full of laughable mistakes, but the main problem with this episode is with gargoyles being able to take on mythology of other cultures so well during the Avalon World Tour, it's a shame that the culture of the Amish is basically ignored. Matthew being Amish adds nothing to this story, and the culture clash this episode sets up at the beginning is completely ignored and never followed up on. What a jip. What's most sad about this episode, and real strong evidence of the extreme time constraints the creative crew of this whole season was put under, is that all the pieces are really there in this episode for a really good boy and his dog story, exploring the Amish, all kinds of things that in better hands and with a little more time and a little more effort really could have been a good episode. But as it is now, it just doesn't come together properly. Sad. I'm some Loudmouth on the internet, and you just heard my opinion. Special thanks to the Dark Conservatarian, Connor Johnson, and my other awesome patrons. And be sure to subscribe for more Loudmouth reviews, commentaries, and editorials.